Having me as a so-called useless daughter-in-law must be such a disappointment. At least that's how she always made me feel. Her mocking laughter rang through the phone, leaving me stunned. The arrogance in her voice and her blatant disregard for me ignited a surge of anger. She had always treated me like I was nothing, but this time her cruelty went too far. As the rest area faded into the distance, I realized I was completely alone. Moments ago, I had been with my family, but now they had abandoned me. Confusion and fear swept over me, yet her cold, cutting words echoed in my mind. You who just sit around the house don't deserve to stay at a hotel. My chest tightened. Despite all my hard work, she never acknowledged my efforts. I ran an inn with dedication and managed every detail to perfection. Yet she clung to her narrative, intent on destroying my self-worth. On her end of the call, I could hear relatives laughing, their mockery amplifying my isolation. Her influence had turned the entire family against me. Even my husband refused to defend me. Anger and sadness churned inside me. The humiliation, the dismissal of my contributions, and now this outright betrayal. It was too much. Her sneering face and contemptuous eyes filled my mind. Her obsession with pushing me away felt suffocating. Something inside me snapped. A decision crystallized in my mind. No more. I drew a deep breath and held my phone tightly, my fingers trembling, not with fear, but with the raw power of long-suppressed rage. My heart raced, fueled by a newfound determination. "Hello," I said, dialing with shaky fingers. My voice was calm, steady, yet brimming with resolve. "I have a favor to ask." This was the beginning of reclaiming my life. It was also the first step toward an unexpected revenge. My name is Maya Smith, age 40. I'm a manager at a large corporation. I met my husband, Tom, in our late 30s. After dating for 6 months, we decided to marry. In the beginning, he was attentive and kind, but over time, he grew indifferent. Now, our conversations are minimal, and he barely notices my presence. Still, I accepted it, convincing myself this was just the way things were. One evening, as I cleaned up after dinner, Tom spoke to me unexpectedly. "Hey, Maya, I need to talk to you." "Oh, what's up?" I replied, smiling, pleased he was addressing me directly for once. "My family is planning a trip, about 20 relatives. They want me to handle the hotel reservations and organize the itinerary." "Really? That sounds like a big task." "Well, I'm busy with work, and you've got more days off than I do. So you take care of it. Find a cheap place, since I'm paying for everything. If you're coming, pitch in too." I wanted to point out that I worked hard and upheld my responsibilities just as much as he did, even if I had slightly more flexibility. But I bit my tongue. For once, he was asking for my help, and I wanted to oblige. Spending time with his family wasn't exactly enticing, but this was for him. "Okay," I said. "I'll handle everything." "Thanks. Just pick a place that won't embarrass us in front of my family." With that, he lay back on the couch, scrolling through his phone. After finishing the cleanup, I retreated to the bedroom and made a call to a familiar contact. "Hi, it's me. I need a favor," I said, my voice calm yet purposeful. A few days later, Tom's parents arrived at our apartment. When I had shared the travel plans with Tom, he'd insisted we invite them over to go through the details in person. As they stepped inside, Tom's mother, Elaine, made a beeline for my kitchen cabinets and began rummaging through them without hesitation. "Maya, are you seriously eating gourmet instant curry from a hotel? How indulgent. You should be cooking for Tom instead of living off things like this," she remarked with mock disapproval, pulling out a few packets. Without asking, she casually dropped them into her bag. This was nothing new. Every time Elaine visited, she treated my kitchen like her personal shopping aisle, helping herself to groceries, canned goods, and even decorative items. Once she took a set of dishes without a word. Her justification was always the same. "Anything in my son's house is fair game. What's wrong with me taking it?" After that, I started hiding my favorite items before their visits. Tom's father, Rick, stood idly by, laughing as Elaine continued her spree. Once she was done shopping, she finally sat down. Timing it perfectly, I presented the hotel details. "Here's where we'll be staying," I said, pulling up the website for the luxury hotel I had booked. I handed them my phone to show off the sleek images of the newly opened property. Elaine glanced at it, her lips curling into a dismissive scoff. "Well, aren't you getting above your station? How are you affording this?" Fortunately, I managed to negotiate a group discount under Tom's name. I replied evenly. I thought you were useless, but I guess you can handle something like this, she said, her tone haughty. Her words stung, but I didn't let it show. What Elaine didn't know, and what I hadn't shared, was the truth about the hotel. It was part of my own business. My family had operated a modest inn for years, but after it gained media attention, bookings skyrocketed. With the surge in demand, especially from international tourists, we expanded into high-end hospitality. I had been managing the new luxury property ever since. Tom knew my family owned a business, but he had no idea I was running such a prestigious hotel. I had kept it a secret, fearing it would create tension. Tom had once complained about my income surpassing his, so I downplayed my career whenever it came up. Over time, I resolved not to share the full extent of my success with him or his parents. I'm sure you'll love it, I said with a polite smile. The place is beautiful and the hospitality is exceptional. Elaine gave me a skeptical look. We'll see. I'll keep my expectations low. Then, without missing a beat, she added, since we're here, let's do some shopping. And we should grab dinner at a nice restaurant too. She completely ignored my offer to cook a meal and left shortly after. The day of the trip finally arrived. Tom, his parents, and I set off in his car, planning to meet the rest of the family at the hotel. Elaine, seated in the back, couldn't resist her usual jabs. Tom, isn't it time you replaced this old car? You shouldn't be driving around in something so shabby. Tom sighed, keeping his eyes on the road. I'd love to, but it's not in the budget. I glanced at him, feeling a pang of sympathy. This trip was already expensive, and I knew how much pressure he was under to impress his family. Oh, I'll pay for it. I can't stand the idea of my son driving around in such a junker, Elaine said with a dramatic sigh from the backseat. Really? Thanks, Mom. Tom replied, brightening immediately. Of course. We'll go to the dealership together next week and pick out something more impressive. They continued chatting as if I weren't sitting right there beside Tom in the front seat. Moments like this had become the norm with his family, but that didn't make it hurt any less. You know, Elaine mused, her tone turning sharp, if only there were grandkids along for this trip. But I guess at this point, it's too late to hope for that. Well, that's what happens when you marry a woman who's already past her prime. Mom, Dad, can you not? Tom muttered, but he didn't press further, letting their cruel comments hang in the air. I kept quiet, staring out the window, regretting ever agreeing to come along. After a long silence, I finally spoke up softly. Tom, I need to use the restroom. Can we stop at the next service area? Elaine immediately rolled her eyes. Couldn't you have gone before we left? This is why we're always late. I'm sorry. I'll be quick, I assured her. Tom pulled into the next service area, and I hurried inside. The line for the women's restroom was long, and I nervously glanced at my watch, worried about holding everyone up. After 10 minutes, I finally emerged, only to find the parking space where Tom's car had been now empty. Confused, I looked around, wondering if I had somehow missed them. I called Tom, but he didn't answer. Slowly, the realization sank in. After a few more failed attempts to reach him, I tried Elaine instead. She answered immediately. Oh, hello, Maya. Something wrong? I'm still at the service area, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Did something happen? Oh, we're already at the hotel, she replied, her tone dripping with disdain. Trips like these are for family, you know. You're just an outsider tagging along. Her words hit like a punch to the gut. Elaine, you're already spoiled with what my son provides without working or contributing. You can sit this one out, she cut me off, her mocking laughter ringing through the line. In the background, I could hear other family members laughing too. Then, without waiting for a response, she hung up. I stood there stunned. The weight of her words settled over me as I fought against the despair creeping in. I had worked tirelessly to organize this trip, putting my own responsibilities on hold, only to be abandoned like this. But feeling sorry for myself wouldn't solve anything. I faced worse as a hotel manager, handling crises with composure. Drawing on that strength, I took a deep breath and called the hotel. Hello, this is Maya. I have a reservation under Smith. Could you confirm it, please? After ensuring everything was in order, I made another call. Hi, it's Maya, I said to my assistant at the main office. I'm stranded at a service area and need a ride to the hotel. Of course, Ms. Smith. I'll send a car right away, she replied. Relieved, I hung up. Soon, I'd be back on track. Meanwhile, in the car, Elaine gloated to Tom. That woman's never been a good fit for you. She's too old for kids and not exactly a catch. Mom, enough, Tom said, though his voice lacked conviction. I'm just saying, you deserve someone who's actually a family person, she continued. Tom sat in silence, torn but unable to find the courage to defend me. Later, at the hotel, Tom and his family settled into their luxurious rooms, enjoying the evening as if nothing had happened. They gathered in the dining area for an elaborate meal. Tom really went all out with this place, Rick said, looking around in approval. This hotel is famous nationwide. I hope it didn't cost too much. Well, Maya handled the arrangements, Tom admitted, trying to sound casual. I'm covering it, of course. That's what a good husband does. Tom's unease was evident, but he tried to push it aside and enjoy the moment. The next morning, as the family prepared to check out, they assumed all charges were already covered. But as they gathered in the lobby, the hotel manager approached them. Excuse me, here's your final bill, he said, handing Tom a detailed statement. Tom frowned as he glanced at the total. His eyes widened. The charges included a suite upgrade, additional services, and the group's special rate. Wait, Tom stammered. Why is this so much more than expected? I thought everything was handled with a discount. I apologize, sir, the manager said with polite firmness, but the discounted rate was only available if the owner was present. Tom frowned, his confusion evident. The owner? Who's that supposed to be? That would be Maya Smith, your wife. The room fell silent. Tom's face paled and a hush settled over the family. Elaine clutched her purse tightly, as though holding onto it could somehow make the charges vanish. You mean Maya, owns this hotel? Tom stammered, his voice shaky. The manager gave a calm nod. Yes, she's the owner. Since she wasn't present, the discounted rate is void. The total amount due now is $20,000. Elaine gasped, her grip on her purse tightening further. Tom, do something. This must be some kind of mistake. I didn't know, Tom stuttered, looking increasingly flustered. I didn't realize Maya was the owner. The manager extended the bill with a steady hand. How would you like to settle this? The other relatives began murmuring among themselves, shifting uncomfortably. You didn't know she owned this place, and she paid for everything. Someone whispered. Tom's gaze fell to the floor, unable to meet their eyes. Meanwhile, I arrived at the hotel, determined to face Tom and his family. The staff greeted me warmly. Welcome back, Miss Smith, the manager said with a respectful smile. Everything has been handled as you requested. I thanked him and headed to the lobby. As I entered, I spotted Tom and his family at the counter, their expressions a mix of embarrassment and unease. Squaring my shoulders, I approached them, my head held high. Good morning, everyone, I said, my voice calm but firm. I see you're having a lovely time. The shock on their faces was almost comical. Elaine was the first to recover, her tone thick with false sweetness. Maya, dear, we were just surprised. We didn't realize you were the owner here. I'm sure you didn't, I replied evenly, but I hope my outsider status no longer concerns you. Maya, listen, Tom began, but I held up a hand to stop him. No, you listen. You left me behind because I wasn't family enough. But I'm the reason you're even here, and I pay for everything. A heavy silence followed. No one dared to look at me, their eyes cast downward. Now about that bill, I added, my tone resolute. No more discounts. Consider it payment for the years of disrespect. Without waiting for a response, I turned and walked away, a sense of closure settling over me. I left them to figure out how to handle the costs on their own. Later that day, I decided to check out of my hotel suite and head home. The decision felt symbolic, leaving behind not just the trip, but Tom and his family, once and for all. Back in my suite, I packed my bags, reflecting on everything I had endured. This trip had been a turning point, a realization that I deserved respect and appreciation, things I'd never received from Tom or his family. As I was finishing up, the manager knocked on the door and entered carrying a parting gift. Miss Smith, thank you for your continued partnership and for trusting us. We hope this is just the beginning of many more successful ventures. Thank you, I replied, smiling. This hotel feels like a second home to me, and you've helped make it truly special. Checking out of the hotel felt like stepping into a new chapter. A powerful sense of freedom washed over me. Freedom from the past, from constant judgment, and from the weight of others' expectations. In the days that followed, I filed for divorce, finally choosing myself over a loveless marriage. I poured my energy into expanding the family business, opening more luxury inns, and pursuing dreams I'd shelved for far too long. Surprisingly, news of my divorce and Tom's mounting financial troubles soon spread. But I didn't dwell on it. My new life was brimming with purpose, community, and growth, surrounded by people who respected me and believed in my vision. On quiet evenings, I'd raise a glass to myself, grateful for the strength to walk away and build a life on my own terms. Happiness, I realized, was something I could claim for myself, and I wasn't looking back.